One thing we learned today, as we finally get to the things we're supposed to talk about, this is one of those days when the producer is wondering, when in the hell are these people going to start talking about the things that are on the outline? Joe Burrow, released from a hospital last night. Throat contusion yesterday. He was poked in the throat, I'm told. They don't know quite when it happened. It wasn't when he hit his head on the turf during the overtime loss to the Packers, because that was a scary moment in and of itself. But he had that throat contusion, was having trouble speaking. They took him to the hospital as a precaution. You want to make sure it doesn't swell, because, you know, if it swells shut, you got a problem, because that's how you breathe. So we had two guys yesterday, both Burrow and Browns linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, in the hospital for a throat contusion and to be evaluated to make sure it didn't turn serious. But Burrow good to go, and that's very good news, Shireen. This guy is a warrior, and I don't use that term lightly, and everyone in the NFL is. But, you know, he's a guy that just seems to shrug at any and all peril that he finds himself in, and that attitude, unfortunately, is going to invite more peril for Joe Burrow. When he plays with that kind of fearlessness, the reality is the physicality is going to catch up with him at some point.
Well, Mike, the first thing I did when I saw that he had a throat injury was I went to see where the Bengals play next week. And I guess if they're going to have a road game, they're fortunate it's in Detroit, because I don't know how big of a crowd is going to be in Detroit. But if you remember back last year, Frank Ragnow had the fractured throat. He said he couldn't talk for 2 weeks. And one of the reasons they took Joe Burrow to the hospital was because he had a hard time talking at the end of the game. So is he going to be able to call plays in the huddle? Is he going to be able to call protections and plays at the line of scrimmage? I think that's a concern right now, of him being able to talk, especially over a crowd in a road game. Perhaps Lions fans will be nice and considerate and not be loud, and there won't be many of them there. But nonetheless, I think that's kind of what you worry about with this injury right now with Joe Burrow, is just calling the plays in the huddle and calling them at the line of scrimmage, especially if he has to yell.
Unless they dust off the old Steve DeBerg speaker system. In 1980, he had laryngitis, and they actually built a loudspeaker into his shoulder pads. Go Google it. I should probably write something about it. It's an amazing story, but they did that to amplify his voice, and DeBerg was able to play because then his teammates could hear him. But that's something that it makes sense to pay attention to going forward, whether or not he is going to have any issues with his voice as this potential throat contusion heals or doesn't over the course of the next few days.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.